Hi, everyone. My name is Antonia Rose, and I'm here today to do a talk about my experience with meditation, how I got started in my journey, and how I came to start doing meditations on YouTube. So, it's going to be a little bit different because I decided to tell my story this way instead of doing it live on camera because it's a longer story. And instead of doing it that on camera, I figured it would be easier for people to just, put your headphones on and go about your day or your drive or your workout or whatever you do, your dishes, and listen to it this way if you're interested. I know that when I first started listening to guided meditations, I was actually listening to this one particular meditator, and he did his story on how he got started. And for me, it was actually quite helpful. So I'm hoping that this will, if it helps somebody, great. So anyway, I was trying to think back exactly what year it was that I started meditating. And I cannot really come up with the exact year. What I can come up with it was sometime about when my daughter, my youngest, was probably around 6 or 7. And I say that because we were living in Redwood City, I believe, at the time, and we had gone to a particular bookstore in San Carlos area, and it was called East West Books, and it was a really cool bookstore. It was a metaphysical bookstore, and it had all different types of books. I remember thinking I was really interested in the dreams and the astrology books, of course, but they had candles, and they had aromatherapy things, and they had books on meditation, and they had everything there, jewelry, children's books, and all sorts of things, and self-help books, psychology books, everything. It was a huge place. But what else they had there were classes, lots of classes, tons and tons. And I remember getting a brochure and bringing the brochure home and going through the brochure and circling tons and tons of classes, lots of self-help classes that I wanted to take. And try to think of my mindset at the time. It was shortly after I had gone through my diagnosis of being bipolar at the time. So I was going through a lot of therapy and support groups and stuff. So a lot of self-help at that time. And so I was probably really at that point in time looking for whatever I could to find, peace in my life. And so that place was probably bringing a lot of interest to me. Like I said, everything in that store was really cool to me. And I'm the kind of person that gets into that, kind of metaphysical kind of all that kind of stuff was really cool. And so I signed up for the meditation class. I don't know what at that time called me to that. I wish I could go back in time and think why, but I don't. I just signed up and I took the class. Now, at the time, I did not know that that bookstore was affiliated with a church, but it was. It was called the Ananda Church, and they the meditation class. It was not affiliated. It was not like a religious class or anything. But they did do meditation was built along the philosophy of the book called the book of you've probably heard of this, the book of the yoga Nanda. Yeah. And it was very interesting. They were really a very peaceful group of people. And I really loved them because I really loved the fact that they were very sweet and kind, and they welcomed me into the class. And I remember it was a long class. It was a couple months, and it was very strict. And we learned how to meditate by, I remember we had a mantra, which I remember the words. I didn't know what they were, what they meant, but I said them. And I remember we had to have our palms up, and that our index finger went in and out, in and out, in and out. But that was very helpful for me, because the in and out, and the breathing, and the in and out, doing that over and over and over. Also saying the mantra, and then focusing our eyes like on right between the inner eye, like between in our forehead, right between the center of our forehead, with our eyes closed, just try to focus, having a focus there. So we're like just totally focusing right on these same few things over and over. The index finger, the mantra, focusing, and the breath over and over for probably a good long half hour. Just the same thing. Complete relaxation. Puts you in just almost a trance kind of thing. And then you go into the silence. And that was something that I was able to do, with a lot of practice. And then, we did that, and months of this. And then the funny part of the story is that, the very last class, I remember, they had us do some yoga. At that time, I could do yoga. I'm not able to now, but at that time, I did some yoga. And so it was a lot of yoga. I mean, sweaty kind of yoga. And then they had us sit down and then do this long ass, meditation. And then when it was over, I remember I felt like, I guess I felt like those people when I walked in, like just totally at peace. I felt so good. I mean, I remember thinking, I feel high on life. Like, oh, this feels good. I feel good. I mean, I was like, oh, this feels awesome. I was like, I want to do this again. This is awesome. Right? Oh, this feels so good. I remember that. Well, I never did that again. I laugh at this because what the heck? I never did that again. Did I ever do yoga and meditation like that again for that amount of time? No. I mean, that was a lot of time, but no, I didn't. That was my last class. As a matter of fact, I didn't meditate for a while after that. I didn't. I laugh because it's just like sometimes we don't do what we're supposed to do that's good for us. We just keep going, and we know what's good for us, but we don't do it. So I didn't. And so I went on for some more years in pain, and then life got really bad. And then I ended up here I was in the Bay Area. I was living in the Bay Area, and more years went by. Like I said, my daughter was 6 at that point. So let's just say my daughter is now 21. And I am now moving over to, or getting ready to move over to Visalia. But before I moved to Visalia, I am in pretty bad, desperate spot in the Bay Area. I'm in. I don't have a place to live. I am struggling, and I am late 50s, and I'm not sleeping. And yes, I'm struggling still with mental illness, so not sleeping is not good. So my therapist suggests I take a meditation class. So, okay, I'll take a meditation class. I've done this before. I'll try it again. So I took another meditation class, and this was a little different. It was more, focus in on the heart, which was harder for me because focusing in on the heart, I have a little anxiety. So that was like, that caused me more anxiety to focus in on the heart. As a matter of fact, even breathing sometimes can cause me anxiety in a meditation, which is why sometimes I don't have a lot of breath in my guided meditations. If some people guided meditations, there's a lot of breathing, but that causes me even more anxiety. So, for everybody, it's different. So for this meditation class was a little hard for me. But I took it. And, but one thing that she did mention was, we have, some tapes, or some, not tapes, but some, what did she say? Oh, apps, an app. And so I said, oh, okay, well, I'll check it out on my phone. So, I went and I couldn't understand her app. I couldn't figure it out. Well, while I was on her app, I started messing around and found YouTube. And I found the sleep meditations. And that's where I found my, my, safety net there, right there. Sleep meditations were my, I'm telling you, I wasn't sleeping. And so the first time I listened to a sleep meditation, it was like, oh, okay. The second night I listened to one, I put it in and the voice, oh my gosh. I was like, oh. And then the story was like, oh. And that night I slept the whole night. And after that, I listened every single night after that. It was like finally I had a way to relax, I had a voice to help me, get myself to calm down and breathe and quiet my mind at night. So I started with that. That's how the guided meditation started for me. And then what happened was pretty, for me, unthinkable. I'm trying to think. It was about 3 years ago. Late 50s. I had never really had anybody close to me pass away in my family, and my stepmother passed away. For me, it was suddenly, and it hit me pretty hard. It hit me very hard, and that happened, and then my grandmother 2 months later passed. So it was like that happened. Again, I'm still looking for, having to struggle with finding a place to live. So these things are all happening. I was starting to spiral down. And this is where the meditation began to take a huge impact in my life. I think probably the fact that I had that meditation, the classes that I had taken many years ago, I had that baseline from years prior. And I have already, I had this spiritual, I would say I'm very spiritual as it is. So I have that within me as it is, helped guide me to a place where, I was able to call on meditation and, because I was also I was alone. So I'm going through it alone. And so when you're going through it alone, I remember thinking all I have is meditation. And I remember there were days I was like feeling like, am I really meditating 10 times a day just to get through the darn day? But you know what? Sometimes that's what I had to do to just get through the day. And, I don't know how I did it, but somehow I did, and I made it through. And, I made it through even, how can I say, a better person? So, more, I think I see things in a better way. So, and I can give you an example. So when I, came here, I came to Visalia, and, I came here just to visit, and, to see my mom. And I hadn't seen my mother. And I hadn't seen her in some time, in a few years. And, you know, when I saw her, you know, we visited, and, you know, sometimes you think about all, you know, the negative things that had happened in the past. But that's not what I did. In the past, that's what I would have done. But that's not what I did. Instead, all I could do was feel this intense love for my mother. And all I could think of was that my mother, though we've had our hardships all of our lives, my mother worked hard to do everything that she could for me, and that she did the best that she could. She tried the best that she could, and that, you know what? I mean, she loves me, and that, you know, I don't blame her for anything, nothing. I love her, you know, and that's, you know, that's big. And, you know, I mean, 4 years ago, you would never hear that come out of my mouth. And I don't think that that's something that is deep within, that takes a lot of growth, a lot of asking for forgiveness and love and healing. And that only comes from going within. Going within comes from meditating. And unfortunately for me, the meditating came through a lot of pain. You know, I mean, I don't think it has to be that way for everyone. I don't. That's just my experience, you know. It just happened to be my experience, you know. And there have been a lot of other interesting things that have happened during meditation, which I will share in another story. I've had some funny things happen during meditations, I think, that I will share later. But I just thought that it would be interesting to share my experience of how I got here, and and, and, and yeah, I mean, it's this, it has been a journey, and then it's a long journey, obviously, because I haven't really explained completely how I made it to YouTube. But I mean, the YouTube journey has just been more of I'd have to say it's more of a journey of what happened after COVID, after, being alone here, and, by myself, and I think, I've been alone for a long time. I feel like I've been alone for years. But, there was a good part of this part of being alone here where, I was also really depressed, and I was looking for guided meditations to help with certain specific situations. Like, I was going through a breakup. I couldn't find one that I liked about breakups. I couldn't. Or one about isolation, being in isolation. Those were the two I was looking for. So, I'm like, okay, in my meditation, here we go. I was in a meditation, crying about my breakup. And that's where I get my idea. Well, write a meditation, write your own meditation then about a breakup. And so I did. And then I wrote the one about the isolation. So, that's how it happened. Maybe somebody else is dealing with those issues. Maybe somebody else. And it took me a long time before I even actually got even the breakup one out on YouTube. I got the isolation one out faster. And I've actually been thinking about even doing another breakup one, because I'm not even particularly, happy with the breakup one. I think I can do a better one now, even as time has gone by. I think that's an important one for people who are going through that. I mean, I think it's an issue for people because, after going through a breakup, you feel those feelings of rejection and sadness, and I think it's important to you need to feel worthy again and feel like, you matter. I'm going to do another one of those. I just realized I'm doing another one. But so yeah, that's how the YouTube thing got started. And, I really want to help other people. It's always something that's been important to me all my life. I've always had jobs that have helped other people. I've been a nurse's assistant, a wedding counselor, a rape crisis counselor. There's always some kind of counselor I've always been. So here I am doing this. And I just, so that's who I am. That's who Antonia is. And now I really want to tell stories. I have other stories too. And I've got my, stories about living with my grandmother who has dementia. And that is like what I've gone through with that. I've got that story. I've got dating stories. I've got lots of those. I've got those stories. I've got stories of living with my daughter who has Down syndrome. I want to do bedtime stories for people that, fiction. So I've been told that I have a calming voice. So, to help, fiction, really maybe 10-minute, put you to sleep bedtime stories. I want to do those kind of stories, I've got lots of other stories. Like I said, have lots of different, interesting, stories that I think you would be all interested to hear. So, let me know what you think in the comments, please. And I will, I guess, be sending you guys another story again in a few weeks. Take care and thanks for listening. Bye, guys.